My name is Africa Melane, and it's a joy, a pleasure, and an honor to be here. Thank you very much to those that traveled from all corners of the globe to come and help us celebrate the opening of this building. In the last day and a half, we have had incredible conversation in the 2022 d.school Festival, some deep reflective conversations around the space of design thinking, and I certainly walked away thinking that this is truly the beginning of an Africa-wide conversation that informs the rest of the world what design thinking is going to be coming out of this continent. And with that, I'd like to thank all of the speakers and all of the delegates for your incredible contribution to what has been fascinating 2 days of the 3 days of the 2022 d.school Festival. We have visitors from more than 30 countries who've come to the most beautiful part of the world. I'm biased, I know, but Cape Town truly has to rate as one of the most beautiful places. And there are some South Africanisms that we need to teach our visitors about. At the conference, we've already learned that a traffic light is known as a robot in South Africa, and a robot it shall stay. We saw the vuvuzela, which is a trumpet formed out of a plastic that makes probably one of the most monotonous sounds you will ever hear in humankind. But when it is blown in unison by 60,000 people at a soccer stadium, it takes us back to the 2010 FIFA World Cup, which was so successfully hosted here in South Africa. You'll come across terms like just now, now, which has a varying degree of urgency. It doesn't really have a metric or a measurement to it. It will happen just now, or maybe now. We refer to a chilled soda as a cool drink in South Africa. And of course, a babalas is what you're all gonna have tomorrow morning after an incredible evening of celebration. In South Africa, we love sport. Our Springboks are the current world champions, and we are so proud of them. Bafana, you can forget about them. We love to dance. We love music, as you heard from the Hout Bay Music Project. Another round of applause for them. They were absolutely amazing a little bit earlier. Later, we will hear from South Africa's preeminent trio when it comes to house music. They are award-winning and have rightfully been celebrated. Mikasa is going to be on this stage. And DJ Rene has been playing in venues across the world for the longest time, and he'll be taking us to the wee hours of the next morning. But first, we have some business to do. It takes a vision to realize a school of this nature, of this impact, and of this magnitude. And in a moment, we'll hear from the man who, in the early 2000s, picked up a magazine, read about this thing called design thinking, and brought it to the world. With that, I'd like to officially acknowledge and welcome to Cape Town, to South Africa, to the HPI d.school, Professor Dr. Hasso Plattner, the founder of the Hasso Plattner Foundation.
Let us get back to where we came from, when we were curious, when we were creative, when we were actually equal, despite we had different qualities.
And while I have you on stage, Professor Doctor, let me acknowledge the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Cape Town, Professor Mamokgethi Phakeng, who flew in from Geneva just 3 hours ago, and this is some of the first meetings that she's had. So, VC, thank you very much, wherever you are. We will introduce you shortly, just to acknowledge that you're here and you. We also have the German Ambassador for South Africa, Lesotho and Eswatini, His Excellency Andreas Peschke here. We've got Dr. Mboneni Muofe, who's the Deputy Director General, Technology, Innovation, Department of Science and Innovation for the Republic of South Africa. Faisal Tufi is the Acting Chief Director for University Planning and Institutional Funding for the Department of Higher Education and Training. We have Richard Perez, who's the Director of the Hasso Plattner D.school Africa at UCT. We have members of the foundation, family and executives of Hasso Plattner, and of course the leadership, senior management and executives of the University of Cape Town. We have members of the media, and most importantly, we have you. Thank you very much for coming to grace this incredible gathering. I suppose it was 2004, if memory serves, that you picked up a magazine while you were traveling, and you read in that magazine about design thinking. What impressions were left on you that made you decide that this is a vision you're going to realize?
No, I read the article in the Business Week, and most what I read resonated extremely well with me. I thought this is exactly true. There was criticism how we run projects, how we are too organized like the military top-down, that once we have developed a plan, then we continue to develop along the plan. There's not enough feedback, and then when the product is ready, we get criticism from the market, and then there's the next version of the product, and this is what we do in computer science and IT now for 50 years. The approach of IDEO, that was the company, was different, to focus much more on end users and work with them, monitor them, talk to them. As soon as you have an idea how the solution could look like for the specific task, go back to them and show them in whatever fashion, whether it's wireframe, whether it's a drawing board, whether it's just pictures, but keep them in touch through all the stages of the development, and not just develop a briefing book and then the details, and then in a waterfall model, which was for many years the method of choice for developing computer applications. And then there were other ideas how we can reintroduce or introduce creativity in the early stages of a project, how we can include more people of the project team in having a voice, and not just, again, a hierarchical structure with a leader and assistant, and two people who are helpful, and the fifth wheel. So the ideas resonated with me, and I gave a speech in New Orleans that day, and I mentioned them, and I showed the Business Week article, and they were watching with the help of a crawler on their TV and saw me, and were very pleased. And shortly after that we met, and then they told me that they are founding a new type of class at Stanford, the design thinking class. And they walked me into a room where I met 6 professors who were chatting all simultaneously, very coordinated, about design thinking. And I said, this is weird. But they were all well-known professors, tenured professors of Stanford. Some I actually knew by name, and then they asked me whether I will join them. I was also a professor, but they didn't want to have me as a professor. They had a different interest in me. The funny story is how are there Americans here?
Quite a few. Quite a few.
Quite a few. How the Americans work. So they came and visited me in my Palo Alto office. Okay, so we are here to ask you whether you can support our design school endeavor a little bit. And actually we have a menu, multi-page menu, so you can support us and pay for some iPads. Okay, that was page 1. Page 2, you can do a little bit more of the computer infrastructure. That's more than just iPads, so we need servers, we need the network, etc., etc. And then there were 2 or 3 other ones, and then we have a final one. And the final one is, you donate us the building. The whole building. Does the building exist? No, we take an old building and make it a new building. It gets a new roof and everything. Boom, 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 boom. And we do something we haven't done since the 30s. We have only one building, which is called the Hoover Building. We have many buildings where the bronze plaque on donated by Bill Gates or donated by etc. No, we will put your name on the School of Design. It will be called then the Hasso Plattner School of Design. And I said, okay, I have to think about it. And I asked a colleague of mine, and he said, are you crazy? You have to do that. So only 2 in the last 100 years. So I said yes, and I made the donation. I also worked 2 classes, and was very helpful for me, was helpful for my company, and I hope it was helpful for Stanford. And it was funny, the lead guy who initiated that, the co-founder of IDU, said, forget about this. Nobody will call it the Hasso Plattner School of Design, it's the D.school. And so you don't worry about this. I said, I don't worry. President Hennessy went to Asia a few weeks later, and wherever he went to, he talked about the Hasso Plattner School of Design. So that was worth it. Try to get your name on a, not on a building, the name on an institute in Cape Town. So we got, we had a good starting reputation, full support by the president, full support by the head of computer sciences and electrical engineering. There was more. And so it started, and we got fantastic students. It's all about the students. We can we have some ideas and some protocols how we could do design thinking, how we could work together. We have some examples, but the students have to do it.
Yeah.
So I told my daughter, it's all about, Tina, it's all about to get the right students, and whether they come from Cameroon, Nigeria, or the suburbs of Cape Town, it doesn't matter. The idea is that we can educate them, and this is, I'm quoting Hennessy, the ex-president of Stanford University, that they trust themselves, that they can innovate. It's not so easy when you study and then you go into a large company and you you disappear for 5 years till you work yourself up and then you start influencing something. You learn at a young age, hopefully you learn that you can invent something, that you can contribute, that you are a valuable member of a design team. And if you are a good engineer, or good in social science, or good in medicine on your main academic subject, then this will be helpful.
Fast forward nearly 20 years later, and on this wonderful auspicious day in Cape Town on the southern tip of Africa, a third school opens. Why did you choose Cape Town? Why did you choose Africa?
Oh, that is easy. In the 70s, my mom came to Cape Town and stayed here. She worked at the German school as a teacher, and I visit her many times. When I became a windsurfer, I spent all my holidays in Big Bay.
As one does.
Yeah, this is when I had my best physical condition ever. There is nothing better than a southeaster coming, a young southeaster, so 30 knots, not just 45. So, and then when it gets too much and you have no smaller sail anymore, then you have to go home. And I will never forget, after packing the sail and the board on top of the roof of the car and then driving along the coast against the wind, sand crossing the road, totally exhausted, driving home, hardly able to eat something. That was the best moment in my life.
And I believe it was when you were attending, was it the graduation of your daughter? Some years ago actually.
Some years ago.
Here at UCT, that the conversation started that sees today the realization of the HPI d.school.
Yeah, after my daughter graduated from the University of Cape Town, it became clear that I can't get her back to Europe.
She's a clever daughter. Clever daughter.
Whatever it is, Cape Town has some attraction. And despite all the problems and the power shortages and what else you have here.
That's enough, that's enough.
So she stayed here and we did some projects, or she did some projects in healthcare, so the anti-AIDS fight and other things. And since a few years, we started a d.school in South Africa because I spent so much time. For many years, I spent basically all my holidays in Cape Town. And the second is that I think the old idea to put money into Africa so that they buy more Coca-Cola, or the old thing that they dig out the aluminum, send it to England and get the spoons back. That was an old story they told me. I don't know whether that was really the case, but this is not working.
Yeah.
Working is Africa has to help itself, and this is a attempt to create an environment where people are enabled to help themselves.
And it is a beautiful attempt. Professor Dr. Hasso Plattner, the founder of the Hasso Plattner Foundation. I'm now going to invite the Vice-Chancellor of the University of Cape Town on stage, Professor Mamokgethi Phakeng, the German Ambassador to South Africa, Mr. Andreas Peschke, and Richard Perez, the Director for the Hasso Plattner d.school Africa at UCT. I'm tempted to ask what you were doing in Geneva, but
Good things.
Good things.
Changing the world.
But thank you thank you for coming back, and thank you for coming back to the opening of this building. You must be absolutely proud of what has been achieved here.
You know, Africa, if I say this is a dream come true, it's exactly that. A dream come true in so many ways, at the right time. We've just launched our Vision 2030 18 months ago. This building represents what we've always wanted to be. And it's going to help us as we march towards our Vision 2030 with our massive transformative purpose of unleashing human potential for a fair and just society. And I'm sure as we go on, I'm sure if you've listened to Professor Dr. Plattner, you'll know that design thinking ultimately gets all the voices into the conversation. And so you cannot have a fair and just society without that. We know our past, particularly in science and research, is not that way. So it's a wonderful vehicle for that. So a dream come true, and I flew happily. I'm tired, but so happy to be here.
Ambassador, I suppose that kicks off then our conversation now. We are faced with constant volatility, with uncertainty, not only in South Africa, but really the world over. Considering that we live in a diverse and globalized world, why do you think it's important for us to apply a different approach to thinking and problem solving to tackle the challenges?
Well, thank you, Africa, but that's a difficult one. Mulweni, everybody. Very happy to be here. It's very exciting at this wonderful building, at this great event. I also followed the discussions to get some food of thought for tonight's discussion over the last 2 days, and it was totally fascinating, I must say. Well, I guess why we need this design thinking, this new thinking, I think it's all about tackling with new thinking old problems or intractable problems. I think there's a big transformative power in new thinking. And maybe you forgive me, I'm from politics and international affairs. I bring you an example from history. You know, there was a guy once in the Soviet Union called Mikhail Gorbachev. He came to power in the Soviet Union 40 years ago. He found an empire in a state of dilapidation. So he thought, I need to make reforms, perestroika. But then he said, in order to overcome our problems, we need nowe myślenie. That is Russian, it means new thinking. So he applied new thinking to his society. And a couple of years later, when he had applied his new thinking, the world had changed beyond recognition. The states of Eastern Europe had become free. The Cold War had ended. I happened to live in a united Germany, and South Africa was moving to its first democratic election in 1994. So that shows you the transformative power of new thinking, and that's, I think, why we need it. I mean, the world now, 40 years later, I mean, the problems have not become an inch less intractable than they were 40 years ago. If you take Russia's war of aggression against Ukraine, if you take climate change, I think we need to tackle climate change applying new thinking, because otherwise we cannot solve it. We can either say, okay, the challenge is so big, we succumb to the challenge. We just let it go and face the catastrophic consequences. Or we could say, let's apply innovative thinking, let's reframe it, let's rethink it, and find life-centered and human solutions. And I think I listened to Professor Plattner yesterday. He said, when something is stuck, design thinking can help to find new solutions. I think that's exactly what we need. If you think about climate change, if you think about transition towards new and climate-friendly energies, I think it is possible. It is possible in Germany. We have so much less sun than you have in South Africa. Still, we are already producing 40% of our energy using renewables. So in South Africa, so much sun, so much impact by climate change, so much wind. I think if you think hard enough, if you rethink the issues hard enough, and if you are ready to apply the solutions and produce tangible results, I think this transformative change is possible. So I think this school, this new building, is very welcome. We need it very much. Siyasidinga, esikolo kakulu.
Yeah.
Isn't it? And And really a big congratulations to everybody who was involved in this exciting endeavor. And, big thank you and appreciation to Professor Plattner, to the Hasso Plattner Foundation, to the wonderful University of Cape Town. I think this institution, as they say in South Africa, halala. 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 This institution really has the potential to become a lighthouse of creative thinking on the African continent and beyond. So I would say, siyanifisela inhlanhla na nemi pumilelo emikulo. Thank you very much, and Nkosi.
Hasso, the ambassador was just showing off. He was literally just dropping Zulu and Xhosa left, right, and center there. But you did want to pick up on something that he brought up now.
I forgot to mention one very important aspect of design thinking. This is the working in teams. But teams are not just teams, teams are heterogeneous teams. It's easy in Stanford, which is very international, and postgrads are from all over the world. In the 2 courses I did, there were 25 to 30% Chinese, mostly female. And that is one of the strengths of the concept, to have a heterogeneous team. You will have a heterogeneous nation, the Rainbow Nation. Women have to be included. They think sometimes differently than we do, and it's important that they bring themselves into the design process. So that is an education which is against traditional engineering. When you look at the famous German engineering companies, Porsche just went public, and you look through the hierarchy in development, male, 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 female, male, male. We have to break through that. You're doing this. We have heterogeneous teams, and after a while they appreciate the heterogeneity of their team.
Yeah.
Because it has more aspects onto the off the subject, and that stimulates creativity.
Yeah. No pressure, Richard. The lighthouse of design thinking on the African continent, an important contributor to the university's Vision 2030, and you're going to bring in incredible teams around. I suppose you have the advantage of, this thinking has been around for a while. Hasna has sort of picked up on it since 2004. There's a benefit of a school in Stanford, in Potsdam, and now we can learn a lot from what they've done. But what I'm looking forward to here is this school defining and contributing the African narrative to design thinking. And that all rests on your shoulders, good sir.
Yes, no pressure at all, yeah. No, absolutely. I think we talk a lot about the importance of collaboration and creativity, critical thinking, but probably the most important thing is to think of the place in which we need to teach that, and the environment and the context that we need to teach that. And you can't teach that in traditional environments. You need to create a laboratory, a space where students, educators walk in and they automatically get the license to think differently and to collaborate differently. And that's what this building stands for. I think the spaces that have been developed are there to drive this behavior. And specifically for us, what we've noticed since starting the D.school and the experiments that we've run over the last few years when we've been based at the GSB campus, is that you get innovation through the diversity of the disciplines. But what we found here, which is different to Stanford and Potsdam, is the diversity and culture that we have. And that takes innovation to another level. And we've got to create spaces for us to be able to collaborate in that. We don't have them in South Africa. And here we're just starting to see teams coming together, working together, different languages, different cultures, and coming up with the most amazing ideas and unlocking that confidence that we can work across these traditional barriers that we've had in this country. And I think that's, for us, what's so exciting, is that we can build a space which can be that lighthouse to show them that this can be done. But you've got to have a vision for it, like Hasso has, but you've also got to build it and experiment with it. You can't just talk about it. And I think that's just an amazing journey we're about to start on.
And I'm going to invite you to please take your time this evening in visiting each of the rooms. What the chefs have designed is extraordinary. In the room just in front of us, for example, Studio 1 and 2, everything is black, including the food you're going to eat. Everything is edible and it's beautiful. If you go to Studio, that's number 4, right? 3. Everything is neon. It's bright green, bright yellow, bright red. And I promise you, it is edible. And in that room there, it's a different experience altogether. It's the chef's way of inviting you to consume the building and take full advantage of it. What is your greatest hope for this building?
Well, the team here really sees this building as a catalyst, as that start of a conversation. We want to do more teaching outside this building than we do inside. And so for us, the vision really is for this to grow into the university and then also start to grow across the continent and start to build a network of practice and really show how design thinking within an African context can really affect the world in a different way.
Indeed. Professor?
Yeah, I think for me, what I hope for in this building is, we're talking about heterogeneity of teams, as Dr. Plattner has said, and what we can contribute, being on the African continent, being here in Cape Town, is the fact that what matters is not just only that people of diverse backgrounds, lived experiences, races, gender are there in the room, but it's also more importantly that they are heard and that's what they bring to the table is taken and it shapes what comes out. Because if you think about it, since 2015, what is under contestation is knowledge. So when people talk about decolonization, the decolonization project is a contestation of knowledge. Who owns it, which knowledge is valued and not. Even though the people engaged in the knowledge are diverse, the knowledge itself is not, right? So what this D.school, what we can do, more than just having different people of different backgrounds and whatever, is the thinking of those people, the lived experiences of those people, shaping the knowledge that comes through, because that's what Stanford can learn from us, that different cultures on this continent think differently, and they can shape things differently. And I hope that this becomes a center of excellence in that way, that we can see the power of heterogeneity in thinking, in doing, and in being.
And I can assure you, that Stanford is in the building and they are already inspired. We've had 2 days of fascinating conversation and it continues tomorrow. A round of applause, please, for Professor Dr. Hasso Plattner, Professor Mamokgethi Phakeng, Ambassador Andreas Peschke, and Director Richard Perez. I am now going to ask that you two come and help me unveil the plaque that is going to be attached to this building, while Richard and the ambassador, other way around. Yeah. All right. Now, hold on. Take out your cell phones. Make sure you capture this moment and you share it with all of your social media followers. The official opening of the HPI D.school building, home to the Hasso Plattner D.school Africa at the University of Cape Town. And now we pull? You just pull it down. That officially marks the opening of the HPI D.school building, home to the Hasso Plattner D.School Africa at the University of Cape Town. And it reads, Africa's first building dedicated to the teaching and learning of design-led thinking. The HPI D.School is a home of the Hasso Plattner D.School Africa at the University of Cape Town. Made possible with a generous funding from the Hasso Plattner Foundation and opened in partnership with the University of Cape Town and Professor Dr. Hasso Plattner on the 13th of October 2023, and some beautiful images to dare to dream, to imagine, to collaborate, to create, and to solve. For you, for Africa, for life.